Hi, welcome to Ride Alongside. Today we are doing a review on the Cane Creek Helm. Let's take a look. All right, so here's the Cane Creek Helm. This is the Works 130 model, and I am at the base of Thumb Butte in beautiful Prescott, Arizona at Dawn Patrol here. It is just so gorgeous in the fall in Prescott at dawn. So hope I can capture some of that for you here on video, but I wanted to give you guys a rundown of the Cane Creek Helm, and specifically the Works 130 model. This may be a strange fork for a lot of you. You might not understand why I really like it, why I wanted to run it, or why anybody would really want to run a 130 millimeter fork with 35 millimeter stanchions, high speed, low speed compression, low speed rebound, and some a tokenless bottom out system. So those are kind of the real overview kind of items of the Cane Creek Helm Works 130 fork, but I have put it through the ringer completely. So when I first, I guess I should start from the beginning. When I first started riding the Chumba Sendero, I right away took it to the granite dells of Prescott up by our northern two lakes, Watson and Willow Lake. And that's the proving ground for this Chumba Sendero, and why I decided to end up buying this from Chumba and not sending it back to them after testing and reviewing it. It really held its own in the very super technical areas of the granite dells. So the Helm Works 130 fork was an integral part of that testing, and I've ridden it for, let's see, June, July, August, September, October, and now we're into November. So it's been almost 6 months I've ridden this Cane Creek Helm fork. So when I first started riding the Chumba Sendero, my point was to really test it and see what it was made of by riding it in the granite dells of Prescott, Arizona, the most technical trails that we have here. So I'm having to pause the video and restart it because of the wind noise. So if you hear the wind, my apologies, but that's just what we deal with out in the outdoors, and I'd much rather do this review out here than to do it in my garage or my house or something like that. So the Helm fork is pretty interesting because Cane Creek tells you to set it up for your body weight. So with the air pressure going into the positive spring up here, you pump it up for your body weight, what they recommend, and then you equalize it down below. And let me show you that down here underneath this cap that they have there. Press the valve, and you just unwind it like this all the way out. Once you get it all the way out, just like the press the valve stems on your wheels, you just depress it. You just hold it down there for a second. I always do it twice, and that equalizes your negative air spring with your positive air spring. After setting it up to the manufacturer's specifications and riding it in the dells where there's a lot of G-outs, a lot of rocks, really just a lot of really slow speed technical riding, I was having it dive on me all the time, and it felt horrible. In fact, I almost went over the bars in one instance going super slow, and that was very much not to my liking. So I messed with high speed and low speed compression while I was out there, and I really couldn't find a good setting that felt plush on the stuff I wanted it to feel plush on, and supportive in the areas I wanted it to be supportive in. So I started doing a little bit more research, and I found that a lot of guys were riding this fork on their full suspension rigs, of course, and I'm on a hardtail. a single speed hardtail nonetheless. So I was putting in what they recommended, and they recommended actually pumping this up, equalizing it with the negative air spring at the bottom, and then actually removing 5 psi from the positive air spring. Now that left it super supple, and on fast, flowy downhill trails, even some with some chunk on them, but mostly trails that were flowing, it felt awesome. It felt like it was glued to the ground. It was tracking better than any fork I've ever ridden, and it just felt glued to the trail, soaked up everything. So when I took that into the dells again, it felt horrible. But one of my friends said, hey, what I do on trails like that is I run the low speed compression almost all the way. So if you just keep adding and adding and adding low speed compression, it eventually you get where you're at the end of it. And I backed it off just a couple clicks, and I left the high speed compression pretty much open unless I knew that there was going to be some pretty big drops or huge G-outs that I was going to go down, some big rollers, and then I'd probably give it maybe 3 or 4 clicks of high speed compression like that. But I'd leave the low speed compression just dialed all the way pretty much. And with that, and with the Cane Creek recommended settings for the air spring for my body weight, both positive and negative, being equal, it was perfect. It was ideal. I was able to flow through really chunky granite dells, trails that were really hard for me to do on other bikes with other forks. So that was really nice. And what I have come to really appreciate about this Cane Creek helm is that it is a versatile fork. You're able to take out the tokenless ramp up system inside of here, which I'll put a picture of that in now. But I messed with that a little bit and really had it ramp up, so at the bottom of the stroke I wasn't going to bottom out at all. Set it up with the recommended air spring settings, like I said, dialed the low speed compression all the way, and then backed it off just a couple clicks, and then messed with the high speed compression depending on what I was going to anticipate on that trail. Most of the time just leaving it all the way open. Now as a single speeder, that's all well and good, except when you're standing up and climbing on the pedals here. When I'm standing up and climbing, I don't want my fork to be diving very much at all, and I don't want it to really be tracking the trail. I'm usually using some body English and power moves to get up and over rocks, and don't really want it to absorb the trail at all when I'm climbing. So what's nice about the 130 Works version of the helm fork is that this is what they call their climb switch. So it's essentially a lockout, and if you do have the low speed compression kind of dialed all the way, you'll feel a very, very firm platform. But with it set up this way, I was able to basically just use the high speed compression on trails that were really flowy, where I knew I wasn't going to be having lots of hard G-outs and big rocks and things like that. I would dial this low speed compression back out so that it was basically tracking the trail, feeling like it was just Velcroed to the trail, and it was awesome. So I mess with the fork a lot, at least with the compression settings on the fly a ton. I use the rebound settings. I used them to the manufacturer's recommendations at first, but then after riding the dells, I really dialed in a lot of rebound so that it would come up slowly, and that was really useful. And I really leave it like that unless I know I'm going to be riding really fast trails that have a lot of like baby head size or a little bit bigger rocks on them, and then I might want a little bit faster rebound, but for the most part I like the rebound pretty slow. So The helm fork is amazing. It's assembled in the US by Cane Creek in North Carolina, and I think they've really got a winner on their hands. They actually have a Mark II version out now, but it's not the Works 130 fork. The other thing I should mention that's different than the other helm forks out there is that they have this through axle. And the through axle is a nice lightweight version. You can buy that separately for the other forks, I believe, but it's really nice that it comes on this one. It keeps it nice and lightweight, but it's a 44 millimeter offset fork, and it's nice that they put this sticker right here so that you can remember that it's a 44 millimeter offset in case you're wondering. But I really like it a whole bunch. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. I'm Nick from Ride Alongside. Thanks so much for watching. I'll have more videos for you real soon.